Ether ETFs, of spot Ether. We're expecting, we have not gotten a word, but we are expecting approval soon, likely begin trading next Tuesday.
The SEC has greenlit the spot Ethereum ETFs, trading to begin next week, which will allow institutional money to finally buy Ethereum.
The spot Bitcoin ETFs, by any measure, have been a success. Inflows have been, I think, generally better than expected.
And if the spot Bitcoin ETFs have been any indication, globally, they now own over 1 million Bitcoin in just the first 6 months. And this is not slowing down. The US Bitcoin ETFs have seen 10 consecutive days of net inflows. And even just this morning, huge trading volume for the US Bitcoin ETFs. BlackRock with just over $340 million in the first hour of trading alone. Paul Brody, the global blockchain leader at Ernst & Young, explains why.
When investors want to go into precious metals and as a hedge for inflation, for example, they buy gold. They don't buy generally palladium or silver or any other sort of specialized precious metal. I think we will see the same kind of behavior in cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is digital gold. It will behave like digital gold, and I think it will be as dominant to other crypto assets as gold is to other precious metals. Similarly, Ethereum has become the dominant kind of tokenized asset and smart contract platform. I think there'll be kind of a similar effect there, where the Ethereum will soak up more than 90% of all these tokenized real-world assets that companies like BlackRock and others are talking about deploying.
Now, Citibank Research, very well respected, expects the Ethereum spot ETFs to see up to $5.4 billion of net inflows in the first 6 months. For perspective, this is around 30 to 35% of the Bitcoin ETF's net inflows. To me, long term, I think we're going to see a whole lot more people buying, but just the first 6 months, to me, 30% would be my bull case. 10% to me is my base case.
My opening bid here is that we'll get about a tenth of the AUM at the end of the day. So give it a 6-month run. I think we'll look at this and we'll say the ETH funds have about 10% of what's in the Bitcoin funds. That makes sense to me. Bitcoin's a store of value. It's a very different kind of story. ETH is a utility, effectively. It's like buying RBOB. You're buying gas for the crypto economy. And so that's a very narrow play on how crypto gets used to rebuild a new decentralized finance world.
So again, if you start to see headlines that the Ethereum spot ETFs were a failure because they only got 10% in the first 6 months, that's par for the course the lower you go with altcoins.
If you're a believer in that, the ETFs are going to be a great way to play that, but I think that it's a cascading level of interest from there, right? If a Solana ETF comes next, I think it's going to be an even smaller allocation. So I think we'll see more folks do what State Street SSGA has been doing, which is partnering with folks to figure out ways to do active management in this space, to put these into portfolios, to put them in context, in other words, to make them less of a speculating vehicle and more of an investable asset.
Yeah.
So we now understand why the Bitcoin and the Ethereum prices are going up. But how about altcoins? For example, Chainlink.
Now we have this chance to be the way the world works for the next 40 or 50 years as this big transition happens.
Well, breaking news as of today, Chainlink launches Digital Asset Sandbox for financial institutions, which is huge for bringing TradFi, traditional finance, into crypto. On July 18th, Chainlink announced the launch of its Digital Asset Sandbox, DAS, a turnkey solution enabling legacy financial firms to explore Web3 assets. And how this works, Chainlink says its DAS allows users to launch tokenized pilots and collaborative proof of concepts in a matter of days, serving as a vehicle to accelerate digital asset innovation for mainstream institutions.
And that, I think, is the really exciting thing for me.
Chainlink CEO Sergey Nazarov explains the importance of being in crypto now in general and what crypto will bring.
And if that transition happens, I think society gets two very big things. The first thing that it gets is in developed countries, everything works much, much better. Information asymmetry goes away in markets to a large degree because information is in the asset and people can't game the system. Systemic financial booms and busts get smaller because people can make more rational decisions. The whole financial system works better everybody has access to more assets. You can buy a fractional piece of a hotel or the restaurant you go to. There's a lot of exciting thing that happens in developed markets, both for how the system structurally works, for society's sake, and the new kinds of products and things that become available. And then in emerging markets, we arrive at a world where people go from 0 to 1, where they didn't have a bank account, they didn't have an ability to buy insurance, they didn't have an ability to participate in the global marketplace through global trade, and now they have all of those things because they don't need to rely on their legal system. They can now rely on the cryptographic guarantees of smart contracts as an alternative system of contracts that is sufficiently easy to use, sufficiently secure, and sufficiently globally connected that they can transact with other people and they can hold value in not a bank account, but a stable coin or a central bank digital currency or a tokenized deposit of some kind. And they can now change their entire economic life as a result of that.
Of course, we understand also why Solana is pumping. Their ETF eventually is coming next.
Late last month, VanEck became the first asset manager to file an application for a spot Solana ETF in the US. And this month, SIBO filed a request with the SEC to list ETFs tied to the cryptocurrency. And now the agency has 240 calendar days to decide whether to approve or deny the 19B4 applications to list the products from VanEck and 21 shares.
And Injective. Why is Injective pumping? Well, speaking of exchange-traded products, introducing AINJ, the Injective Staking Exchange-Traded Product, ETP, that's like an ETF, launched by 21 shares. This innovative product offers exposure to INJ via major traditional finance exchange venues and brokerages, while also capturing staking rewards. So not only can you buy this ETP and get exposure if you're a traditional institution or just a Wall Street investor and get exposure to INJ Injective token, but you can also stake it, earn staking rewards just by holding the ETP. As a regulated financial offering, AINJ paves the way for broader institutional participation and adoption of Injective. It is 100% physically backed, and 100% you get staking rewards. This is how many traditional brokerages or environments or platforms you can buy this now at. eToro, that's huge. And now looking at lower cap altcoins, Proppy, a major player in real world assets and real estate, combining the two worlds.
I want you to tell everyone here what's your take on property rights on chain, and more specifically, real estate on chain, titles on chain.
Proppy has been revolutionizing real estate for over 7 years, and we're thrilled to see Vitalik's vision for on-chain real estate aligns with ours.
We do that on Ethereum, by the way.
There are a lot of benefits that come from like just plain digitization, right? Like basically, like once, like in probably still most of the world, like land ownership rights are like not even digitized, right? Digitizing is like the first step to making any of that actually possible. And then if you go from digitizing to blockchainizing, then like you actually get like much more direct ability to like actually get, like prove things about your current ownership. To, like if you want to do things like on-chain governance, then you would be able to do that, and like basically it just becomes much easier to like compose and like iterate and like make everything programmable and experiment with a lot of different designs, right? So I think that kind of stuff is really cool.
That is the video. Like always, see you tomorrow.